I'm not going to say magic number, but if we're waiting on attrition to take care of certain things, that's not good either, because I feel like, I mean, you know, what do we need is what we should be starting with. What do we need? And I've kind of said that for a while. Well, we need a budget, but like, you know, I heard 35 social counselors. Is that what I just heard? But we've got 39. Are we waiting for them to just quit? Like, I just don't like
Yes.
talking about people like that and nutrition like that. It bothers me because I just think what we need is what we need. And I feel like, you know, waiting on people to solve another problem, I just think is another problem. But anyway, sorry, I was on a tangent. So, I mean, I'm for looking up and freeing money. I don't know about that part, though. I apologize. Ms. Bradford.
Any other discussion on the motion we have in front of us? And that again is to freeze the $399,000 this year.
Yeah, and I would amend to make it the 399,
Okay, sorry.
although we did have complaints about other curriculum, and I didn't have time to digest it. I read all 160 pages. There were a lot of complaints about the curriculum. I was
And
shocked,
some of
but
us
not
haven't had a
shocked.
chance to read any of that.
Me too.
Okay.
So I'll amend to the 399, 743 number.
Can I ask another question real quick? So, as we're talking about, I understand what you're asking us. Let's just wait and see how it plays out. Well, to Dr. DeWald's point, July 12th is basically less than a month away. And if we don't have people who have quit by retiring or resigning by then what? I mean, are we waiting until school starts so that we can just eliminate people the day before school starts?
I'm sorry, I feel like maybe I'm not explaining myself well enough. We do have current vacancies that we can shift people to lower that number. I've been reluctant to do that at this point simply because I was asked not to talk to school level people until the budget was passed. And I didn't want to step out in front of this board and call teachers and say, hey, I know you work here, but now you have to work over here.
Thank you.
Some of those resolutions can be done. However, I'm trying to operationalize what the board is wanting. However, we're running up against how much money we have.
There's no other, Mr. Manis, you have something? Bless you.
Stop pausing. How many people are in your department?
Right now,
I'm just curious.
after the cuts, I think we have 23.
Okay. So what you want, and what, Ashley, excuse me, what you suggested with the flexibility to start maneuvering people now, and that will, you think, equate to saving us positions?
Yeah, that's what.
Well, on our priority list as well.
So my question is, what is our target number? Do we have one, or is it? Yeah, so 279 is, and so where are we right now?
Right. So right now, I've got 156 positions still to resolve. If I can go ahead and start filling vacancies and maneuvering people around, that number can drop to 120. And that number 120 can continue to drop until it balances.
Ms. Walker, you have your hand up.
Oh, gosh. I had the question. Can you come back to me? I had it, but it's gone.
All right, we have a motion and a second in front of us to freeze the 399. We need to resolve that, and then we'll go from there. 399 and change.
We're also under contract with them.
Okay?
And that's
You
for like the
explain it?
whole 3 years or something like that? Ish?
I heard 5.
Okay, so we have to buy their stuff.
And yet our teachers are throwing the workbooks in the trash, according to the teachers.
Well, that's a principal issue, to figure out why teachers are throwing
I
stuff in
think
the
it's
trash.
more than a principal issue.
Yeah,
So Dr. Pastor, you're saying that we are on a contract, so we can't freeze the three? Okay.
and get sued.
I'm sure that they wrote it and we didn't, so.
Okay, so we still have a motion that is legal in front of us here to freeze the 399 and a second. All in favor, please? Well, would you call the roll, please? Ms. Bowie?
Ms. Mason? No. Mr. McManus?
No.
Mr. Wildebohr?
No.
Ms. Bradford?
No.
Ms. Craybill?
No,
And Ms. Walker?
No.
Okay. Defeated 6-0. So we still have the budget in front of us to move forward with, or
Does anybody have a suggestion of where we can cut or add money? I mean, that's where we're at, y'all. Is there something we can take away so that we can add more money, so that we can get to where we want to be? Because if not, then before we go home tonight, we're going to have to pass this budget, which we don't want to, and allow the staff basically, I don't mean this in a rude way, but just an explanatory way, carte blanche to do whatever you need to do. And there we are.
Well,
And
if I could interject real quick, I think we actually have two options. We have the option, as you just listed out, or we have the option where we say we want to have what, what we've suggested here, but that, from what I'm hearing from Dr. Barnes, would mean that there'd be a reduction in force. You'd have to go, or from Ms. Sutton, someone, you'd have to go to this person and say, I'm sorry, you no longer have a job, correct?
Board policy will require us to bring to you a reduction in force that you would approve. And again, those places that we are over are very specific job bands.
Ms. Walker?
I-
and then Ms. Grable?
I mean, surely we know already. This is what is concerning to me because there are staff out there that are worried. It's not fair to them, honestly,
No, it's
to just sit out there and not know if their job is here or not. And I'm just concerned about that because we were initially given a list of positions. I mean, surely we know, or at least I say the district right now knows because I sure don't, what we have and what we don't, what we need, what we don't. We want to know what we want to save, but I don't even know if that's going to work now because we don't have any kind of answer. That
So, yeah,
concerns
I can
me.
answer that one for
Greatly
you.
concerns me.
So going back to that, I can answer that. Back in January, when we gave you those positions, that was to get to the minus 20 million. That's what those positions were. As we've talked about, and Dr. Barnes has used the analogy about the marbles, that it loosens up when someone retires. But some people, and we said it, that may retire are not on that list. So we're still, our goal is to reduce to get to that negative 20. And so the way to get to that was the 279 positions. We presented because we have to recommend. The general statute says that I recommend a budget, you approve the budget. So we recommend how to get there. That means that some of those people may not have come off that list, but there were 105, we'll say 105 positions that didn't even reach that. So those people aren't touched because we were able to reduce through natural attrition with 105 and with other positions. It's bringing down that number to get it to balance. And so even though we had a group of individuals that said, if you do X amount, this will get you to a balanced budget. But what we were saying is that in that, if you want to add people back to that, we have to then look back and say, okay, well, maybe it is 7 grass cutters or whatever that's over there. What we're trying to do is just to get it to balance. That's all we're trying to do. And everyone, I mean, the media, everyone keeps saying that, oh, you're cutting all these positions. Those positions may not fall in that area. That's why it's like to give that freedom to say, you may only have, you may not have 17 EC reductions because they may not fall that way. you may have something else that equates to that number.
Well,
We-
I have a follow-up to that, because I sat in a county budget meeting listening to 76 positions being saved. Where did they get that number, and where did they get that list of, oh, we're gonna save X amount of teachers, X amount, I mean, they got given some kind of numbers, and I don't think they fully understood exactly which positions were,
We gave
because I
you-
was there, and I know one of the commissioners like, how many of these are EC teachers, and that could not be answered, so I'm really confused, and I don't like to be confused, I don't think I'm stupid, I have a degree, I have taken classes, I'm not a budget expert, but like, if you explain it to me, I will understand it. I think what I don't get, and of course, I guess I'll just speak for me, since I voted against the budget initially, was why didn't we push harder for more than that? I know we did 10.1, I get that, but man, I just don't see how we can cut. I just don't. I don't know how our district is gonna survive, honestly. And we've gotten feedback, which everyone's gonna get soon, on how teachers really feel. So I'm just confused, and I don't wanna be confused. I just wanna do the right thing. I think we all want to do the right thing by our staff, but it is very, very frustrating for me. I won't speak for y'all, you can speak for yourselves.
Ms. Graybill?
So, listening to what Dr. Barnes just said, we started out on March the 21st with 279.33 positions. And now we're down to 156, and we're hoping that we're going to get down to 120 by the time school starts. Okay. Talk me through that again.
We have a number of vacancies that need to be filled. And obviously, it's not carte blanche, but it's saying, you know, your enrollment has declined 20 students. A teacher that now works here needs to go work over there to fill a vacancy. So we have an internal shift. So if I can do those internal shifts, that number of 150 will get down to about 120 as soon as we can communicate with people. So I would say within a week or two, you'd see that number down to 120.
But then, so are we then still going to have to probably lay people off if we can't? Because 120 is a lot of people. It's a crank load of people.
It is a lot of people.
Yeah.
Now, some of those people are 10-month employees. They come back in August. So some of those positions are still going to change between now and then. You know, my goal, always my goal is to never to tell a person that there's, you know, I would hate to bring to the board, or bring to Dr. Faust to bring to the board, a reduction in force plan. Because that's very hard for all of our staff and all of our employees. I think what Ashley's asking for is the money that the additional money that the county commissioners had allotted us, the difference of $2.5 million or whatever, using that to make sure that this reduction plan can go into place without anybody having a reduction in force, is what the goal is. Now, once we reduce all those numbers to where the budgetary plan for this school year is, we then begin working backwards towards the priorities you guys have named: teachers, EC teachers. Sorry, EC teachers, ECTA's teachers. I understand, though, your concern, all your concern is we can't lose staff. Some of that is right sizing, some of that is a difference between needs and wants, but we all know that every job that works with kids is essential. But we just don't know if we can afford every position that we want. So we're trying to build a plan that gets us what our kids need and balances.
Ms. Mason?
But in no way are we saying that some jobs are more important than others.
Ms. Mason?
Okay, I hate that I always get like the math things. Math was never my strong suit. So based off of the information you just said, with flexibility, you'd be able to reduce from 156 to 120. That's a difference of 36. Whereas if we were to move forward with our priorities, that's 40 positions. Can you explain why that's less than what we're asking for? Does that make sense? Math is not mathing.
No, and we're also trying to explain a very complex process too, obviously. So what I'm saying is that's the number of vacancies I have right now, that I have people that can go into them, right? To reduce some of our numbers down to a place where we're balancing. We're going to continue to do that throughout the course of the summer, and that's normal business practice, is what we normally do is you need to go work over here. You know, and it happens every summer. It happened a little more last summer because of ESSER 2 funding ending. This obviously is a lot bigger than what we've had before. But what we're asking is that if we can make sure that we can not do a reduction in force, we need the money that the county commissioners have allotted to be able to give us time to come down to that attrition number in each of those individual categories. Another good example, currently we have 56 assistant principals. Our budget plan that we provided to you has 52. I can move those around and fix those issues and bring us down to 52 easily. But I've been reluctant to do that because I didn't want to step around the process. So some of those positions can be realized and fixed. That's what that 121 number is once I start putting people into vacancies, that number begins to come down. Does that make sense?
Ms. Bradford?
I'm with Ms. Mason. Math is not something I did well in. Dyslexia doesn't help. But if we had 279 and you think that if you do all of these things, you can drop it to 120, if I run that on my calculator, that's still 43% reduction. I mean, 43% cutting, 43%. And that was the last thing we wanted to have happen. I feel like I'm in the middle of a nightmare, and I'm not being disrespectful to y'all, but I feel like I'm in the middle of a shell game. Everything keeps moving around, and we're just completely clueless.
Walker?
So I am confused, and I just thought about this because we were talking about attrition, and we've been talking about that quite a lot over the last few months. I guess I'm confused. I've heard right side again. What are we trying to right side to? Because we already know state allotment is not adequate for this district. So I'm curious, where are we trying to go? I mean, I think we got sent some numbers about how much staff. I know there's been attrition articles out there, but I feel like the decrease in staff has been happening just so much. Where does it end is my question. I know it's about money and how much money we have in a certain year, but it's also about needs, and it also is about prices going up. So like when we ask for commissioners, we got to say, things have gone up. This is just the way it is. So I'm just wondering, where are we getting that number? Are you being told, are the counties telling us this, the state telling us this, that we have to reduce our staff by a certain amount, or?
So we reduce based on the money that we know that we're getting. So the local funds that we know that we're getting, that's how we reduce.
Okay. Well, the numbers we were given, or that are on our website, 2018, 2019, we had 3,775 staff members. But our student enrollment has not declined by that much. But if you look at today, I think what we were looking at today, just over 3,000, 3,100.
So you have to think about the cost of an employee
Right.
in 2019.
Of
So all those
course.
things that you just said runs it all the way up.
So
And
we
so
should
we've
be
gotten,
asking for more.
right, so we've gotten, since then, we've gotten a 12, the state has given us a 12% raise.
Right.
So you tack on that, and then in 2021, the county commissioners gave us an additional supplement that skyrocketed.
You mean the teacher?
Yes, and so that, the employee cost more.
Did we share that cost with them?
Oh,
Did we
yes,
share, that we
yes.
took it out of our fund balance? Because this is explaining a lot of things. And this actually goes to my point, like all this discussion on right siding is what is right for us. And it doesn't matter what costs us.
Right.
It does matter, but what I'm saying is, what we need is what we need to be asking for.
And so also to that, as soon as we get the dollar amount from the local side, right off the top, 25 million goes into supplements.
Right.
So, and that's not a bad thing. What I'm
No.
saying is there's money that's already earmarked before you even get it, that it goes there. So those, and then there's another, we're saying a 4%. So from 2020 to that'd be 16%.
So can I ask your professional opinion, Dr. Faust? Do you know exactly what we need staff-wise here? What we need? I don't mean what we're being forced to reduce
So
to.
that- And honestly, we would have to go back and look at, to see, we just can't afford, like, I mean, what we have is great if we could afford it. We just can't
Well,
afford
no,
it.
and I understand that, but I mean, do we know what we need is the question. That's what I'm asking for.
And
I feel like there are needs out there that we're hearing that we do need, like,
so we weren't able to do a needs analysis because we were told what we were going to get. So it's almost like parents give you money and say, here's $5. You say, okay, this is what I can buy for $5 versus
I
I
guess-
want all of this. So we were given the money, and then we have to make our budget.
I get it, but I think our job, I'll just speak for board members, is to advocate for what we need, regardless of what they, because we already did that once, right? You know, Madison asked for the whole amount, then it went to 10.1 million. That even to me is not enough. So I feel like what we need is a certain value, and then they have to say, no, you can't have it. But what we have to do is figure out what that need is. So I get what you're saying, but it's kind of like the reverse. Like, we should be telling them what we need, and they're not going to be happy, but the state is not adequately funding us, so it's happening all over the state. It's not just here. But I would love to know what our needs are. I already think I have an idea. We can't lose more EC teachers. We just gave the priority list on that. There's AIG, there's so much we can't lose, and I think there's probably a lot more we shouldn't be losing. And I would love to know, I just would love to know. I don't know, you said it's needs assessment.
So what that would honestly look like is that starting, I would say in October, it's like, what are the board priorities? So if it's all of these were the board priorities, and let's say then that's where we start, and we would do a cost analysis of what that would look like in addition to some of the other things for like capital and those other things, and then that communication starts at that point.
I think it's beyond what we need. I mean, what we say we need. It's what the district needs, is what I'm
Right,
trying to
right.
get
So
at.
that's what I'm saying. It would be a two-way thing. We would say, if there were conversations, this is what we need, and then we were costing out and telling you, this is how much it's gonna cost you. So then when you're having conversations with the county,
'Cause
you're
this will
telling
come
them,
up
this
next
is what
year.
we need, this is the priority, this is how much it's gonna cost.
So we've been reducing our staff since I've been on this board. So I feel like it's too much. I just really do. And I just, when does it end? Because are we going to do this next year? How deep is it going to go? And it is not comparable to how many students we don't have as much, so.
So you know that you're gonna get a recurring of 5.5 million. So that's how we start on. So if we know that's the recurring, so it was recurring of 4.5, that's where we start. But then if you say that's not enough, then you say, well, okay, so how much would purchase X?
Right,
And then we
okay.
can give you that number.
I think that's a great thing to do.
Ms. Grable?
Okay, so remember last time I told you I left my sheet at home and so I just want to I'm just going to do some random picking off of this 279 list.
All right, hold on.
And because some of these positions are not easy marbles to go into. So let's just pick maybe like the last 5 on the list. We've got teacher, family life, technician, don't know what that means, technician, manager arts, therapist, warehouseman. So we have that would be 8, 9, 10 and a half, 11 people. So I don't see how, and we'll use family life as an example. If we're going to move them into the middle schools, because I've heard that's one of the proposals, do all the middle schools have openings in their PE, or are we forcing somebody else out? I mean, you don't have to answer, I'm just throwing these out, and then you can just, jump in at the end. So, and then we look, maybe we've got maintenance, skilled trades, marketing, community specialist, office support, Title I parent liaison. Okay, so we're looking at those. Maybe we don't have marbles, that maybe there's no holes that these are going to be in. So these positions, the way I'm reading this, are probably going to have to be eliminated somewhere. So, and then we get into like the EC teachers, 17, EC teacher assistant, 58, and I know you've been telling us a little bit about that. Special education liaison, special education program specialist, student record specialist. I mean, these are kind of specific jobs. And I don't know how we're going to be able to get this 120 and roll them in. Because it's just, I mean, those are special, like you said, everybody's essential. But they are on a list. So somebody in this room at this table, not us, suggested this list of 279. So that came from somewhere.
Right, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
279, that gets you minus the negative 20 million.
Yeah,
Those lists, however, what's coming in is it may not be someone on that list who has left the district.
right,
So
no, I hear you.
that's how, when you're saying that you're gonna have to release someone because it's not on there, that means that that vacancy is, that cost is what we're trying to get off the books, that cost.
Right, okay, so I'm back to the family life then, example. How does it save us money by just moving them someplace? Moving them into a school to teach PE when we may not have a PE opening at a middle school?
Let me give you a different example.
Okay,
We had a person who worked at our central office. This person was a associate. Had the licensing, is now going to be a CTE teacher next year at one of our high schools. So the position, there was a vacancy over here, that person selected to move over there, so that job gets eliminated.
okay,
By the same token, one of the people that you mentioned there is now a data manager at a different school. So those are what I'm talking about in those ability to shift people into jobs. Now, generally, and I will say that a lot of the tension and stress, I think, is partly because people don't know where they're going either. And I think sometimes if we can share with them or work with them, generally we want HR wants to meet individually with a person. What are you looking for? What would you like? And find them a job that either is just as good or not better than the one they had before. So that's sort of, but it's hard to explain in a onesie-twosie kind of way.
okay. So can I follow up, Mr. Wilmore?
Go ahead.
So and I know some of the positions that we are asking people to consider are like at a lesser pay grade or lesser than. And we have agreed to hold that salary harmless, right, for a year. And then so this is reminding me of a conversation that we had last week. Well, let's just take their supplement away, or let's just reduce their supplement going forward. So you've got two people in the same job making different money. And perhaps we get into a man versus a woman, kind of position. That now we're thinking, oh, well, we're gonna lower you, and it just, all these unintentional consequences might show up.
No, I think that
And I'm
conversation
not
was
saying
just
that's
kind of
happened,
thrown
I'm
out
just-
there, but no, I don't want that to get out into the atmosphere.
Okay.
So that's not what we're doing.
But I'm just saying,
We're holding
Those
jobs
could happen.
harmless with this budget. So this year, you're holding them harmless for a year in hopes that, just as Ms. Walker was stating, what will we need? So going into next year, we're telling, so if you're holding them harmless using the 2.3 million, then you're gonna have to say that plus 2.3 is gonna be a starting for next year, because you've already got 2.3 of holding people harmless, so you have to ask for more in order to make it balanced.
okay,
Yeah.
'cause that's essentially taking a pay cut because
Right.
if your position, if your 1 year goes away, then I could be making $10,000 less a year. And then I might quit then, so we've kept them for a year, but we've lost them overall. Okay.
All right, board, so at this point, I still think we have two, I guess more than two, but two options that are pretty prevalent. One is that we could allow the flexibility to do as Dr. Barnes and Ms. Sutton has said. We could stay with our priorities, and that would unfortunately be a reduction in force. And I'm open to any other suggestions, or I would entertain a motion to move forward on one of those ideas.
I just have a question. Are we totally out of time now? Like, we can't go back to the commissioners for anything? So we're done with that, essentially.
I think we've reached out to them on certain things, but as far as the overall budget, they've already done it. Already passed their budget.
So can I ask one more? All right, so if we were to offer the give them, the district administration, the flexibility to do that, just so we're all clear, is that means that our priorities are going to take a back seat. If it looks like we can massage it so that some of those go back in, that we can use our priorities, how are we going to figure out which of those priorities will take effect? Like, let's just, you're moving things around, and it looks like we found some money, you know, because we've put people in these holes. So are we gonna go to EC teachers as our number one, or are we gonna go to AIG teachers as our number one? If we're able to put back in.
I think the board would need to rank what would be your 1, 2, and 3 for those. But basically, all we're saying is, and I think they may have explained it, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse. Wait till October and then put your priorities in. That way, all of the revenue should be in the district. You'll have your federal dollars, you'll have your state allotment dollars, state allotment, and then, I mean, local, of course, we know what that is. That's what we're saying. You will know, maybe there'll be extra revenue. There may be some more students. And then you can say, okay, if it's EC teachers are number one, or AIG's number one, or your EC teacher assistants number, we just need to know which one's your top priority. And then that's the one that we would say, okay, bring this.
So in October, then you're suggesting we might move people?
If they are an AIG, they're already there. Like let us work on the internal stuff.
Okay.
We would just need to know what's your priority, and it may be things that shake out during the summer as
Well,
we are.
can we do that right now?
We've already done it.
I know, that's what I'm saying, so can we just say?
Which one is your 1, 2, 3 that you want
I
first?
think it's
Is it?
already
Already
listed,
told you.
yes.
Yes.
EC teachers 1, AIG teachers 2, ECTAs 3. I mean, that's what I thought we had, so.
Oh, in that order. I
I
mean,
mean-
I see that, I just wanted to make
Yeah,
sure.
no,
what you
I
wanted.
thought that's what we picked as our order.
Yeah,
Okay.
weeks ago.
All right, well, we're still here, and still waiting for a motion. Anybody like to make a motion? That might be a good idea.
Take a milkshake.
Dr. Barnes?
I don't know why I'm offering a suggestion. However, really want to exemplify again that the normal transition from employees in like jobs is a normal part of this. This is not something we are wanting to create a problem or do on our own. If it would be feasible to the board, I could start reducing everything else that's not one of these 3 priorities and see how many positions we can resolve and try to stay away from these 3 things that are listed, and then see where we get, if that makes sense. And then I'll be working towards the numbers that were in the budget originally.
Because there are some teachers and positions that we already know have been asked to go elsewhere.
Okay.
Whether they've gotten a letter or not, they've already been told.
So
that
that
they-
would be, I'm sorry, that would be different if their enrollment drops, then you have to, we've always done that.
Yeah.
And so some have, you're losing a whatever teacher because of enrollment. Yeah.
Go ahead, Trevor.
Okay, if we're at 279, 156 now, you're hoping to hit 120. That's still 159 people. 159 people. Which is absolutely what we said we didn't want to do.
Are you saying that like are you thinking 159 that are we getting rid of the position, or through natural attrition, they're already gone from the district? That's what that 159 is, they're already gone from the district.
So if we drop to the 120, that's 120 people that we're
That
going
will
to
be,
have to.
so that means through the natural attrition that they're leaving the district. That's what we're,
But
all
you're
of these
down to
numbers.
120, so there's 120 positions still on the line.
But we don't know
Correct?
what those positions are.
Right, we don't know what those positions are.
We,
Well, I don't
yeah,
understand
you
why
can
we
show
don't.
them I mean, those positions that are on that list that we approved, you approved.
Did we approve? Oh, you're talking about the priorities, not the original list that y'all gave us, I think.
If what you're asking me is, in which places are we over what the budgeted amount is, that makes the 120?
Maybe.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I answer your question.
I'll take your answer.
I can go back and I can find out exactly in categories, how many over the budgeted amount are we in each of those categories. if that's what you're asking.
But we don't, but for you to go back and do that, that means we gotta meet again.
Correct.
I mean, we get vacancies, we have things shift every day. I want to make sure the numbers I give you are accurate, too.
Ms. Walker?
So I don't want to give you the
guess-
numbers I calculated last week.
I guess what I'm not confused there, but I am confused. There's like, we're talking about positions. We were given by the district 279 positions. To me, that means y'all all thought about the positions that needed to go. I mean, I'm just saying, right? Because we
We
didn't
would've
make
had to.
those, we didn't make those positions. So like, we're saying 120 positions, like we know what those are. We just don't.
We don't have a clue.
So those 279, let's go back, and I'll explain it again. Those were positions that are over the state allotment. And so that's how we got that, the overage. And so anything that was over, so those positions that are there, and, I mean, we can put it in the memo, how many have, through natural attrition, have gone out. But what I'm saying is that there are more positions that weren't on there that are, and I'll use the word random, since those were specific. Those 120, how many that are currently vacant?
We would get to 121 if I resolved as many things as I could that are vacant right now.
But I'm saying right now, if this were, how many are open positions right now?
Between 30 and 50 are vacant, waiting for a person to drop into.
No, we have more than that, Chris. I'm saying, how many people, there is a vacant list that we're waiting to, that number?
I'm sorry, I was thinking just teachers. I would want to make sure I calculate that exactly. I don't want to give a number.
Give me a ballpark.
85.
Okay, so you're saying 85, but there's also frozen. Those aren't the right
Correct.
numbers. I just want to, that number, Ashley, that I've been asking, what's that number?
Go ahead.
Because I've had them run a number for us, like, because that's where everyone's getting confused. We keep giving, they can't, y'all are doing the internal numbers of,
Probably.
I want the
I'm sorry.
drop dead, if this were, what's that number? That column that I'd had y'all work on the last time, I was like, tell me, it's supposed to be 279 minus whatever to give us that number.
I don't have the most recent one, I have an old one, because when we calculated that this week, he didn't include the backup in that.
Okay. I will get that number for you.
Well, there is a number, and I didn't bring my, actually, let's see. So I'm just going to spread out some numbers. So there was like 136, 91 were frozen. Does that sound familiar? So 91 positions were frozen, 136 we had, that gives you 227. That was way back when, and I just wrote these down. I don't have a summary of what it was. They were calling out numbers. So I'm going to go with this. There was 136.
So we have, sorry, there are, the number 119 is the number. That's the number of active positions we have that are vacant.
119.
119. And that's everybody.
And that's everything soup to nuts.
So
So
again,
if I were to quit the school board, you could like plug me in to be a warehouse hand, if you need it.
We're frozen.
Well, it doesn't.
Frozen on that.
You're not in the.
I'm not in that, okay.
But and this is where the complexity comes in, because I can't ask a mechanic to teach biology. So
Right.
it obviously becomes a lot more granular when you look at individual jobs, licensing requirements, and ability and sort of skill level, skill type.
all right, I would entertain a motion of some sort so we can move forward. Or Mr. McMahon can buy a sit-out. That's how you offered before.
All we do is try to find an alternative, try to rationalize it, see if it's gonna help us. We all end up back to the same square. I say we go back to commissioners and we do not support the budget. He can present a budget, but that doesn't mean we have to support it. This will destroy our school system. God, I hope I'm wrong. And that's what I hear. I've never seen so much. It's horrible.
All right, in the interest of time,
Can't
I'll make a
support
motion.
kids.
No, I know nobody wants to make the motion because we're all kind of just sitting here like, holy crapola.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
So I'll make a motion that we accept the budget as presented, given the latitude to move some people around.
Okay, there's a motion, is there a second?
The chair can make a second.
I know it. So basically, Dr. Kowski, if we don't pass the budget, nobody gets paid starting July 1, right?
Yes, those people, and Ashley can clarify, what does that look like starting July 1?
So we have a continuing resolution, but it's at a lower level than the current year. So we would have money to pay until that money runs out, but it will run out unless we make a decision. So I would say we would use a continuing resolution until we have a budget in place. But we don't want to run out of money before we have a budget in place. That's the concern.
And so then my question would be, for that continuing resolution, what do you do for, does that become, I'm assuming that's like the fund balance dollars, that resolution, where does that money come from? Where does that resolution dollar come from?
So the resolution is using a reduced revenue from this year, which we made sure matched up with the revenue projections in this current budget so that we wouldn't overspend. But the problem is, so we've got the budget, but we know based on the expenses, if we don't make some kind of adjustment for positions, that we're going to overspend the revenue that we have there, because that's why we are where we are right now. But we will have, I can't tell you when we would no longer have money to pay salaries. I had hoped we would pass the budgets. I haven't done that projection, but I could work up to see how long with the current level of funding before we run out of revenue for next year, if I need to do that.
How much, what's the, and I know this it fluctuates, what is the cost for each month for payroll, to run payroll?
I don't know that off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
Isn't it like 2 million or something
No,
like that?
It's a lot more
it's
than
like
that.
19.
19 million, sorry.
19 million.
Yeah, I
No clue.
don't know that number.
Well, and I don't know where it's gonna go, but I'll go ahead and second that just because I don't want people not to be able to be paid over the summer. I mean, it's worse than anything, so.
Can I ask a question in there? So that if we pass this and, or we don't pass it and we have to go into fund balance, to make payment, which we don't have 19 million in our fund balance, so we can't do that because we don't have that in our fund balance. Can the chairman of our board talk to the chairman of the county commission and say, hey, we need a loan. We're going to need a swing loan, because we're trying to work through all of these positions, these 119 vacancies. So can you swing loan us? I mean, is that
So can you vote on the budget and do that?
I'm
until
just
the
throwing
weekend?
that out
No,
there
I'm
because
saying-
nobody wants to vote.
No, what I'm saying is that can you vote on the budget and then do that simultaneously?
No, I'm proposing that. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Can we do that? Because if we don't vote, then we're not going to get, employees aren't getting paid, even the ones that still have jobs. You know, so we either don't vote and they don't get paid, or we vote and then we try to, simultaneously work on whatever plans we can work on.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, would you please call the roll, Julie?
Ms. Mason,
No.
Mr. McManus,
No.
Mr. Wildebohr,
Yes?
Ms. Walker,
No.
Ms. Bradford,
No.
and Ms. Craybill.
Doesn't matter, yes. I mean, I just don't want our people not, I mean, I don't
Okay.
like this budget, but I don't
We've still got
want our
5
people
days.
not to get paid.
5 days.
Mr. Chair, can we look at the next time we can meet?
I think we tabled that.
Let me for this,
Tabled that discussion.
No, I
that
mean,
was
meet
for-
on the budget.
on the
Town
budget.
hall.
Yeah, it has to be this week.
Yeah, today's Tuesday, so Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday.
What time do you guys need to sit down together?
What is it
We'd
that
be
you-
a lot more,
Need clarification, what numbers am I putting together? I'm sorry.
When's our next meeting?
Tuesday.
So we'd have to be able to pay folks, we'd have to meet this week.
Yeah.
Okay.
How will we arrange to meet? Is that important?
Thursday, well, Friday will work.
Talk about the
We're
last minute?
We, they may have already made arrangements, yeah. I can tell.
Reporting is due to DPI. I need to get that done and submitted Friday.
Thursday afternoon?
I'll make it work.
Thursday afternoon, so we need at least 4 of us.
You have to have 48 hours.
This is Tuesday.
That's Tuesday. 48 hours, yeah, so.
No, no.
Does this constitute an emergency?
I would say yes.
I
Yes,
would think so.
definitely. Does the 48 hours get less on an emergency? I don't think it does, but I'm just asking.
I mean, Mr. Chair, is there any motion we can do that will satisfy all the things that we're asking for?
I'm sorry?
Is there a motion that can satisfy all the things we're asking for? Because we clearly asked questions that we don't know. I think that's what's stopping us from voting, because we're unsure.
Lack of information.
I
wonder,
mean-
Is there something we can do that would be a stopgap, say for, like the
Just
federal-
said.
the federal government, has, a short-term thing that they do for a month or something?
That's what Ms. Preble proposed.
Yeah, I mean, is there something that we can do that?
Budget resolution or
Maybe
something like
Yeah,
that?
like a
Mr.
budget
Vogel has some
resolution.
ideas that you can tell us about
That we
with
can do?
Ashley is
knowledge
the
of
person who'll
statute,
be able
yeah.
to tell you that.
I'm not aware of such a thing.
Okay.
Per Board Policy 2300, emergency meetings in rare situations, an emergency meeting may be called in order to address generally unexpected circumstances that require immediate consideration by the board, the chairperson or vice chair, if the chair is unable to act, or the superintendent shall call an emergency meeting when it is determined that the meeting is necessary and cannot be delayed until 48 hours notice is provided for a special meeting as described below in subsection B3. Only business connected with the emergency meeting may be considered at the emergency meeting.
So we could call emergency meeting for, again, Thursday afternoon.
What time?
It might be different one time again.
You're talking about 27th?
Yeah.
7.
I have a salvation home meeting, I cannot miss.
What time is that?
2, 3.
What time is it?
Starts at 6 o'clock.
Okay, well, I got something then. So what if we started at 3?
Well, as long as I'm there at 6.
So why don't we start a little earlier, maybe at 2?
Can we do it in the morning?
I'm free all day, except that happens maybe later. Miss that meeting.
You want to do 11?
Yeah.
It's more time to get through it all.
11?
11?
Yeah, that'll work.
But
Okay,
can
what
we,
exactly does the
What do
board
we
need?
we need the numbers to the questions we've asked,
What, so,
again, here
Could
tonight.
you
not
please
written down the
repeat those
questions.
questions?
So it's 11 a.m.,
Written
right?
some questions, haven't we been asking? I mean, because we've been asking them all afternoon.
I'm just afraid when I go back and listen to the recording that I'm going to miss something, but that's what I'll do. I'll go back and listen to the recording and try to do the best I can on that.
We say 11 or 11:30?
11.
Bring your own lunch.
So on Thursday at 11 a.m., what are our top 2 priorities? As a board, let's state them right now. And let's don't diverse where we want to go.
Priorities,
Face what we got to face.
priorities as
We
far
got to make
as
some decisions.
positions, I believe we've already stated those
I'm just talking about-
repeatedly. EC teachers,
What's my favorite saying?
ECTS.
5 hours to play
We
with.
have to vote to pass a budget. That's our priority, number one.
Right.
Have all our questions answered, come up with what we can stomach.
And I would ask
Budget.
one more time, can you find anywhere in that budget that you can move some money into what we need?
so I can say we did a zero base. So we took out, I don't know how many, how much did we take out of all of the budgets, Ashley? Just-
Or I'll have to, it's been 6 months ago. I'll
Yeah,
have
we
to
are-
go back
but-
and pull it again.
These, I mean, I could actually go down, but we have taken millions out of the budget.
All right. So we will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can be there? I know you can't be there, so we'll have 5 people there at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
That is a quorum, so we'll have that. So the only bit of discussion we have now is to adjourn, so do I have a motion?
Move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? We are adjourned.